In 2007, a borrower took out $22,000 in private student loans, thinking they'd be debt-free in a few years. But after 11 years of paying $500 every month, the balance is $8,000 more than the original amount. They called it an ugly hole riddled with crap. But it's not just one person. Millions of Americans have spent decades paying off student loans. Yet 1 in 4 aged 35 to 49 are still trapped years after graduation, holding 33% of all student debt in the United States. But how can decades of payments leave your balance higher than your original loan? Does refinancing fix the problem or make it worse? And in 2025, is taking a student loan even worth it? But let's go back to that borrower. They only started making payments in 2014. So from 2007 to 2014, interest kept adding up, not just sitting, but growing on top of itself. This process, called interest capitalization, adds unpaid interest to your balance, which means future interest is calculated on a larger amount. That's how a $22,000 loan quietly grows before they've even made a single payment. By the time payments began, the balance had already swollen to an estimate of nearly $50,000, which made their consistent $500 a month payments for the next decade barely scratch the surface. It's like throwing money into a hole, except the hole sends you monthly reminders. According to the Federal Reserve, roughly 43 million people in the US hold student debt. Together, they owe over 1.7 trillion, more than the nation's total credit card debt. But unfortunately, most of them aren't paying off their loans. They're just renting their debt. Their payments keep the balance alive, but never kill it. I feel suicidal because of my student loans. The writer has just finished grad school, carrying nearly $300,000 in loans, and he was earning just $53,000 a year. Sally Mae wants $2,300 a month, he wrote. I'm barely getting by as it is. It feels like the walls are closing in on me. I know it's my fault, but I have no path forward. He wasn't asking for pity. He was describing a math problem that didn't have a solution. But this isn't rare. Research from University of Illinois found that people with high student debts are twice as likely to show signs of serious psychological distress compared to those without it. When payments eat half of your income, it's not a matter of just budget better. It's math versus reality. Millions of borrowers sit exactly where he is, working stable jobs, making every payment, yet feeling no progress because with double-digit interest and compounding penalties, the debt grows faster than they can pay it down. But if you ask financial advisors or loan officers how to deal with this, you'll usually hear three words: refinance your loans. It's pitched as the magic fix: lower interest, lower monthly payments, and a fresh start. Sounds great on paper. But in reality, refinancing often just reshuffles the debt, not reduce it. When you refinance, you're basically trading your current loan for a new one, ideally with a lower interest rate. But the thing is, most people extend their loan term to make their monthly payments smaller. That's where the trap resets, because while your payments get smaller now, you'll likely pay way more over time. One Reddit user said their friend refinanced $477,000 in student loans to 18-year term. By the end of it, they'll pay over $400,000 just in interest. That's $878,000 total, almost double what they borrowed. If they hadn't refinanced for 18 years, they would have been paying much less interest in total, but the minimum payment would be higher. Refinancing didn't save them, it just stretched the pain longer. This is exactly why many people turn to public service loan forgiveness instead. The easiest path is a public service job that qualifies for PSLF, or one that pays enough to clear your loans quickly. USPS is a viable option, especially in maintenance careers that pay well. It's not glamorous, but it guarantees forgiveness after 10 years, or faster if you budget well. For many, that's the closest thing to a cheat code in the system. Jobs under the federal or state governments, education, or certain non-profits qualify for forgiveness after a decade of consistent payments and come with stable benefits like COLA raises, pensions, and healthcare. But this path isn't bulletproof. The Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program was introduced in 2007. Yet, when the first borrowers became eligible in 2017, over 99% of applications were denied due to technicalities or poor communication. Since then, reforms have improved the system. As of 2024, nearly 800,000 borrowers have received full forgiveness. Forgiveness exists, but it's not automatic. It requires near-perfect paperwork and patience, two things most people don't have the time for. So while economists and banks call refinancing a solution, for many Americans, it's more like a reset button on a game they never meant to win. Like one Reddit user shared, I graduated in May 2024. That was supposed to be a time of celebration, a moment of relief after 10 years of non-stop work. Instead, it turned into a countdown to my first student loan bill. He had taken 10 years to complete his degree while raising his son as a single parent, surviving abuse, mental illness, and financial instability. By November, my payments were due, $417 a month, and I couldn't afford it, not because I didn't want to pay, but because I was already juggling rent, groceries, and 2 jobs just to stay alive. He logged into his student loan account only to find he was already 90 days delinquent on 8 loans, totaling over $41,000. His credit score dropped 72 points in 1 week, and even though he took accountability, admitting he should have looked deeper into how loans and repayment plans work, he still couldn't escape one fact. When your income can't even cover your essentials, financial literacy doesn't fix anything. I'm willing to take a third job, he wrote. But I'm exhausted. I've missed so much of my son's life because I was always working, always chasing stability that never came. For him, the question wasn't how to pay off student loans. It was whether life itself was supposed to feel like this, trapped between debt and survival. By early 2025, he began considering bankruptcy, not to escape all his debt, but to start over, to breathe. But here's the cruel irony. Student loans are among few debts that can't be erased in bankruptcy. It feels like we're being punished for trying to build a future. Other countries invest in education. Here, we are punished for seeking it. His final words were a mix of anger and exhaustion. I worked hard, I gave it my all, and I'm still stuck, still scared. So after everything, the ballooning balances, the refinancing traps, and the broken promise of forgiveness, one brutal question remains. Was it ever worth it? Because when the system keeps you paying for decades, what you brought with that debt starts to matter a lot more. Economists call student loans good debt, an investment in your future, a ticket to a better life. And statistically, that used to be true. The Georgetown Center on Education and the Workforce found that college graduates still earn about 84% more over a lifetime than those with only a high school diploma. But that number hides a darker truth, because while the value of a degree grew slightly, the price of earning one exploded, while median wages for young graduates have barely moved. So while the payoff once outweighed the price, in 2025, the numbers no longer add up. But the real cost of student debt isn't just financial, it's generational. Home ownership among borrowers under 35 is down nearly 20% compared to their parents' generation. Marriage rates are lower. Small business creation has slowed as more young Americans choose job security over risk. Student debt didn't just delay people's dreams, it quietly redefined what adulthood even means in America. So, is student debt worth it in 2025? Maybe, if you're entering a high-paying fields like tech, law, or medicine. But for most people, it's no longer a ladder, it's a leash. That's the quiet tragedy no one puts in college brochures. Education promises freedom, but in today's economy, it often sells debt disguised as opportunity. But for a deeper breakdown of whether a degree still holds real value and how it shapes our economy and youth, watch our video, Your Degree is Worthless, next.